Hi, welcome to the basics of immigration issues, unlawful immigration, push, pull, and impediments. This is part 3 of this segment. You can listen to them together or separately. Let's launch into impediments. When I'm talking about impediments, I am especially talking about what makes it so people don't follow the immigration law. I often have people say to me, I don't mind if people come, I just wish they had followed the law. And we've talked some in these ones about why they don't follow the law, especially in the push. This one is really geared toward why they don't follow the law. For the push and the pull, it could be lawful or unlawful. Here I'm going to specifically focus on the impediments, the roadblocks that make it either difficult or impossible for people to be able to come lawfully, and therefore they come unlawfully. The first issue here is that our immigration law is extremely complex. As I have been working on these series, I've thought about the fact that there are areas I don't talk a lot about, and I think, well, that's because I don't understand those areas. And I've talked about some areas I don't necessarily understand a lot, but I've learned some so I could explain them to you. When I look at immigration attorneys, at immigration professionals in the government agencies and in the communities that work with immigrants, nobody understands all of immigration law. Nobody. I've known some very intelligent people. They don't understand all the different areas of immigration law. And so we're taking people from other countries that may or may not speak the language, may or may not be highly educated, and they're trying to navigate this. So if you have people who are Americans, highly educated, speak English, are familiar with immigration law, and still have whole areas that they don't know about, imagine trying to navigate that from someone coming from another country. Our immigration law is very complex. I've worked with immigration laws in multiple different countries, and it was eye-opening to realize just how complicated our law is. Even when people are trying to follow the law, they often violate pieces of the immigration law because of how complicated it is. Do this step, but it also involves that step. And oh, there's a subpart that you need to do this. And I don't even really understand what that means or how to get that information. So it's very complex. And sometimes people just throw their hands up and say, forget it, I'm not even going to deal with it. I'm just going to come in because I know I can come, and that is simpler. So some unlawful immigration is just giving up. Some unlawful immigration are people trying to do what they've been told or they think they understand they're supposed to do, and it not being the correct information. I'll tell you a quick story about this that many years ago happened and helped me understand a little bit more about the complexity. I had a friend who was here in the United States on a visa to teach special education in the school systems. Now, talk about a job that needs filled. That is a job that we need. And he was a phenomenal teacher. I've seen him teach. He's an excellent teacher. Great. The school districts thought so too. And so they asked him to be a coach. And if you're not familiar with schools, the basic idea of a coach is they coach the other teachers who are doing the same kinds of things that they did. So he was going to be a coach to special education teachers throughout the school district, stay in the same school, but work with people throughout the school district. It was a great opportunity for him. It was a great opportunity for the school district. Everything was good. About 2 days before he started his new job, he just had this feeling that I should check. So he called his immigration attorney and he told him what was going on. His immigration attorney said, stop, absolutely do not start this new job. Why not? Because his visa was specifically for him to be a teacher. And the duties of a teacher were different than the duties of a coach. If he had started doing the coaching job, same school district, same employer, same basic idea, but with different duties, if he had started doing that job, he would have been in violation of his visa, his non-immigrant visa, and he would not have been eligible to receive his immigrant visa, which they were applying for and they were in the process of. He came that close to violating the laws and eventually perhaps not even being able to stay in the United States and migrate here because of that little technicality. So that's just one example. There are thousands of them. There are so many wrinkles and technicalities that make it very difficult for people to follow the law. And again, some of that just means they don't follow the law, and some of it means they give up and they quit and they just go get a job and forget trying to follow the law. So the complexity of our law is definitely one of the impediments for people coming lawfully. Another impediment that I have talked about previously is the lags in our system, the incredible delays and the waiting. If you haven't watched my videos about preference categories and about waiting, backlogs and wait lists, I encourage you to go watch those because they will help this part make more sense. Over the last 70 years, the way our law was written and the way our law is being carried out has changed. So the law is written that this happens, you apply, you get this. you apply for the next step and you get that. And when Congress wrote these laws, it's with this concept that we'll just go apply and get something. But the reality today is that people are waiting months, years, and sometimes even decades to get the next step of what they need. And go back to my example over here of the water, the dam bursting. When people are waiting that long, they get impatient. A couple of things with waiting. One is, again, people say, forget it, I'm giving up. I'm just going to come. It's going to take 25 years until I can come and live with my family member in the United States. I'm just going to come in, either on a tourist visa and overstay, or I'm going to come in unlawfully, or whatever it is. So they'll just come because the wait is so long. The other problem with the waiting is, and I mentioned this in my other videos, but if you have a system that's designed, here's step 1, and then you have step 2, and then you have step 3. But the problem is that somewhere back here, all of a sudden there's a 3-year gap. And it's designed that you'll go from one to the next, but now there's a big gap. What are you supposed to do in that gap? Some people may go home and wait, but sometimes that just doesn't make sense. So this is a non-immigrant example, but let's say that you're in high school and you're getting ready to go to college, and you've been accepted to college for next year, and you're waiting for employment authorization. That's immigration. You're waiting for your funding to come through. And the funding, however you're getting the funding, is like, sorry, we have a backlog. It's going to take us 2.5 years before we get to your application to get you funding. So what are you going to do? Just keep going to high school? Well, that's definitely not an option. Do you go to college and find your own funding? Do you go to a different school? Do you go get funding somewhere else? You have to make a decision. It's designed that you go to high school, you go to college, you have the funding to go to college. It's a quick thing to get funding. But if all of a sudden getting funding took eons, then it would mess it up. Buying a house, same kind of idea. If you've bought a house, there are these steps that have to happen, and we think they're going to happen in 30 or 60 days. But if all of a sudden somebody's like, no, it takes us 9 months to do an appraisal, and the bank won't finalize the mortgage until you have an appraisal, and appraisals are 9 months behind, that system's not set up to buy a house that way. So the same thing with the immigration. The way the laws are written, this waiting actually makes it very difficult sometimes to follow the steps in the order they're supposed to be followed, in the time they are supposed to be followed. We could get into lots of details, and I may in a future video, but the important thing is to just realize that these long waits, one, bring impatience and people just forget it, or two, they actually make it almost impossible to follow it correctly. One other quick example, thinking about pushing and pulling and waiting. Think of entering into a ball game. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you're going into a ball game, and at the beginning there are a few people coming, and then there are lots of people coming. But eventually there are crowds of people. The game is about to start, and there are just thousands of people at these few little gates trying to come in. So the push factors are powerful, and the magnet's powerful because we want to watch the football game. And the football game is starting right now. We don't want to wait forever, or the basketball game or the volleyball game or whatever it is. So the poll is the starting right now. And so we have this intense pressure and little places to get in. And then you have this buildup. And so some people are just going to wait patiently in line. Some people are going to push. Some people are going to find other ways to sneak into the game. They're going to climb over fences and go indoors they're not supposed to. The same kind of thing is happening with our immigration system, where we're bottlenecked so many different places, and the push has intensified more than ever. The pull is still strong, and we have some of these issues that keep people from being able to come in, and so some people choose to come unlawfully. I think that's probably enough for today about push, pull, and impediments. But these are some of the reasons, general reasons, why people come unlawfully to the United States. I hope you found that helpful. Hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. How would you solve it? I'm going to end with that. I'm not going to solve it for you. I'm going to ask you, how would you solve it? Which of these points would you choose to focus on? And what would you do to try to start solving these problems? All right, good luck.